What's the most messed up thing a friend has ever done to you? I used to chat to this guy online for over a year on Skype, 4 or 5 nights a week, anywhere from 3 to 5 hours a time. Definitely lots in common. Really sweet guy. I would have done this anyway, but I started crushing on him. I know he cared about me a lot too, but then one day about 2 years ago, he deleted his Facebook and stopped coming on to Skype or the original website we had met on. Not a word. Didn't answer any texts or emails. I continued to send him the odd text message, happy birthday, Xmas, etc. I finally heard back from them during this summer that he had been spending far too much time online and had to cut it out completely. Couldn't have told me this earlier? I was worried that he had been maybe in an accident or something because the silence was very unusual from this guy. I still care about him a lot, but I haven't really thought about him much recently. He was super awesome and we were on the same wavelength. I thought it was really cool that he understood what I was trying to say when I was having difficulty expressing myself and loved pop culture as much as I did. No doubt when an internet friend just disappears one day, it totally sucks, sure, but I think as I've gotten older, I'm kind of like, yeah, people have their own lives, priorities, things change, and granted, yes, they could have totally told you that they were just getting off the internet, but at the end of the day, some people need to make drastic changes in order to actualize real change. One of my best friends, and one of the first people to be nice to me, said he loved me. Then he spent a whole lot of time with me. I thought things were going great. I started to feel the same. He asked if we could take it further. I was a virgin at the time and very self-conscious about my body. Well, after maybe an hour of him cuddling and such, we do the deed. After that, he made me dinner. It all seemed like a really good thing. Next day, he completely ignores me. It took me about 3 months to get him to even text me back, and the only reason he did was because he wanted his best friend's advice on how to get a girl that he wanted to smash. I helped, and I really have no idea why. It hurts to see them together, and he makes eye contact with me while he hugs and kisses her. Then, whenever we're alone, he tells me how beautiful I am, how special I am. But as soon as someone else walks into the room, he makes fun of me, and it hurts. I told him that, and he called me terrible things. I haven't talked to him for almost 2 months. I'd like to put this more tactfully, but your best friend is a user of literally the worst possible degree. One of my best friends borrowed $3,000 from me. I was a single mom going through cancer treatments. He took the money and never paid me back. He told me he loved me and he wanted to elope. When I said no, he was crazy and I want my money. He told me he wished cancer could destroy my body and I died. We dated in 6th grade. I was so completely in love with him up until he never paid me back. He used my crush to his advantage. Oh, let's not forget, he had my mom arrested 3 times in a week when I was in 8th grade, then told the entire school about my personal life, but my mom kinda deserved to get arrested. Needless to say, after 17 years of friendship, I could care less about him. In 6th grade, I had this friend, let's call him Brad. We met in block class and started to hang out at lunch and play Halo 3 on Xbox Live every day after school. Brad was the kind of kid who would call you gay if you didn't like something he liked, or did something he thought was stupid. I don't know why, but he always focused on me for that sort of stuff. So fast forward towards the end of 6th grade in our PE class, we were all waiting in the locker room to get dismissed into the gym for class, when one of our friends started to have people sign the back of his PE shirt. Since it was the end of the year and we didn't get our yearbooks yet, we all followed suit. I finally let Brad sign the back of my shirt since it was the back of my shirt. I couldn't see what he was writing. When everyone saw what he had written, Brad started to chant it throughout the locker room. 10 kin likes men, 10 kin likes men. I'm not gay, nor do I have any problem with gay people. I started to spin around in embarrassment, confusion, watching as everyone in the locker room pointed and laughed at me. Then out of nowhere, my friend Keenan grabs me and pulls me into the locker room office to tell our teacher, whom is a great guy and used to teach with my mom, what Brad did. Anyway, he had to call his mom and tell her what he had done. I don't know why, but I was still friends with him until the end of 7th grade. Then in 7th grade, we went on a field trip and my mom and Brad's mom both volunteered to help out. They ended up sitting next to each other on the bus and my mom had brought up what Brad did to me. I overheard Brad's mom explain that when he called her into the office, he was crying uncontrollably. It must have been so awkward for the mother of the kid who practically gay bashed me to sit next to and explain to my mother what her son did. The worst thing I can think of is one friend that stands me up about 40% of the time. It's weird. When I see him, he's a really good friend. But when we make plans to hang out on a certain day, I'll call but won't hear from him for days. When I finally reach him, he'll say something like, "Oh, I had to go to something with my brother, etc. Not sure what to do." I legitimately don't think I'd be able to tolerate that. I would be like insisting to them, "Hey, if you got something else going on, I don't mind. You just gotta tell me so that I don't get my hopes up that I'm gonna have a nice day out with my friend and then bubkiss." The only solution I'd see is to confront them about the fact that they clearly don't respect your time. I had a friend at university who was always looking for bits of money or to buy him food as he was starving, etc. I even listened to his stories of how he'd make the best video game ever when he graduated, showing me page after page of designs he had done, all looking straight copies of other games. Me being a regular good guy Greg felt sorry for him, so coughed up cash that I was working my butt off for whilst I was studying as well, all while he'd lay about doing bugger all. I thought he was just a bit odd, but in time he'd mature, mellow out. I was quite wrong. Come the group work, he stole the rest's work, tried to pass it off as his own, claimed we were just all jealous, etc., and how he'd done all the work. In reality, none. That, and he never paid me back a penny of the cash I loaned him. Thankfully, he crashed and burned and I believed effed off on some trip to try and discover himself. Back in middle school, a friend spilled water on my crotch area of my pants. I was wearing khaki pants and it was in school, so it was pretty visible. Instead of helping me by fetching me some paper towels, my friend started laughing his butt off pointing at my crotch, getting enough attention for everybody in the class around there to stare and laugh at me. I got really embarrassed, and now I realize that the biggest mistake on my part was not playing it cool. I haven't spoken to that friend since. Not only do I agree you should have played it cool, but also, this is definitely on the lower tier of things that a friend could have done to you. I lived with a girl who was my roommate in Jobs Corps. If you don't know what that is, Google it. I don't feel like explaining. After we left there, she had a 2-bedroom apartment and the rent was cheap, so I moved in with her. Being that we had been roommates before and I knew she was cool, I didn't think we'd have problems. Wrong. After 2 weeks, I had a full-time job and was contributing to food and bills, not to mention alcohol. She and her boyfriend drank a lot. No one complained about anything I did. I never left a mess, never locked them out or anything of the sort, so I don't think I was doing anything wrong. About 2 weeks after I started working, things go weird. I had become friends with some of her friends, including her brother. Somehow, she decided to tell them I had every STD possible. Not true, and that I slept with any guy who hit on me. Also not true. Said friend and the guy I was interested in never spoke to me again. I didn't find out why until way later, but I noticed at the time that they all just started ignoring me. She started locking me out of the house while she was home, throwing the deadbolt and the chain on. I knew she was home because I could frickin' hear her giggling at my frustration. I'd be asking her nicely to open the door, at least let me get some clothes for the night if she wanted some alone time with her boyfriend, and she would either ignore me or yell rude things back through the door. After this started, I couldn't be in the house without feeling uncomfortable. Constant passive-aggressive behavior. Her and her boyfriend sitting on the couch mumbling things about me loud enough so that I could hear it when in the kitchen. Her boyfriend even threatened me repeatedly, which I ignored. He was all talk and I knew it. Blah, blah, blah. The final straw came when I tried to get into the apartment to pick up the majority of my belongings so that I could move into a new place. I had to let her know I was moving, had paid up rent and bills. She seemed fine with the arrangement. She refused to let me in again and threw a bag out into the alleyway with some of my clothes in it and told me never to come back or she would call the cops. Come to find out later, she just stole anything she wanted from my room, bagged up some clothes for me and then threw everything else out. Everything she threw out included my birth certificate, childhood pictures, yearbooks, journals. Oh, and she read the journals out loud to people who knew me and made fun of me the whole time. So basically, I was left with a few changes of clothes and whatever I was carrying in my giant purse of doom. Thankfully, after years of a nomadic lifestyle, I was accustomed to carrying a mini kit of bathroom items and all my makeup in my purse. I was left in a town where I knew only my coworkers and had only known them a few weeks and had virtually no money and no possessions. Some of the things she threw out were pictures of my now deceased grandmother and me when I was a baby, and it breaks my heart that I don't have them anymore. It might not seem that severe, but as a clueless 20-year-old, this seemed like the most awful betrayal ever, especially because I hadn't provoked her at all and definitely did not deserve that. She contacted me years later to apologize, and I did forgive her. I blame her now ex-boyfriend who always hated me, but I would never trust her again. We're just Facebook friends and occasionally chat on Instant Messenger. I will never forget that. I'd like to say this is why I don't live with people that I don't know that well, but you literally knew this person and then they decided to do a 180, a massive heel turn, and decide to be the villain of this period of your life, I guess. God damn, what a psycho. I wouldn't even forgive them. I wouldn't associate with them. My friend Rod had sea monkeys that he'd kept alive until they were the size of small tadpoles. He took very good care of them and he was invested in their survival, if not a little attached. I was high and clumsy and knocked it off the dresser. You could see them flitting about on the wall and in the carpet. They all died. I felt like crap. I am the sea monkey Himmler. Sorry, Rod. I had this one friend I knew through middle school to college. One weekend, a lot of my group of friends were going to a convention, so my sister got a hotel room and asked if I had any friends who would like to stay with us for the weekend and pay a small fee. It was one of my sister's friends and a couple of my friends, her included, who took us up on the offer. Everyone else paid up front, but she insisted that she had to get to an ATM to pay. The whole weekend, she basically avoided us and would hang around these two guys she dubbed Boyfriend 1 and Boyfriend 2. That Saturday night, when we were all going back to the hotel together, she decided to run off with some guy with a motorcycle, insisting she's grown. She was 18 at the time, so she wasn't technically wrong, but she sure as hell wasn't acting it, i.e. the not paying what she owed and going off with someone she had met maybe 5 minutes before, and that she'd meet us at the hotel. She ended up knocking on the door an hour and a half later, wanting to get in, waking us all up. Anywho, the next morning, her and my friend go to Waffle House and wanted to spend more money at the convention. She only had to pay us $60, which should have been a priority anyway, but decided buying more junk at the convention was more important. She paid us half of what she owed, which I later found out a large portion of that money came from my other friend, high school students. Now, would someone who's grown be asking for money from high school students? Her bag didn't even pay for her Waffle House. This girl still tries to talk to me and can't take a damn hint. First year of college, my best friend was this kid who lived in my building. We'd play video games, watch Pokemon, get high together, etc. One night, while drunk, I cried in his arms and told him I wanted to delete myself. He was supportive and encouraged me to seek help for my depression, which is something I have been struggling with since the age of 9. A few months after this incident, I have begun therapy and I'm feeling good and strong. I started dating a girl who also lives in my building. My best friend begins dating her best friend. It's kind of the perfect scenario. 1 month later, my best friend's girlfriend dumps his butt. No explanation really, just wants nothing to do with him. My girlfriend and I spend a lot of time with him, trying to help him get over her. It's a slow process, but eventually he appears to be doing well. A month or two after this, I become massively depressed again about things going on at home between my parents and our financial situation. When it seems like therapy isn't helping and like I'm consistently making my girlfriend's life terrible by pulling away emotionally, I begin to feel a mixture of guilt and resentment for her inability to be more supportive and less bitter towards me, so I break up with my girlfriend. We're apart for a week, and during this week, I am spending pretty much all of my time with my best friend, telling him about how awful I feel not being with my girlfriend and asking him to tell her I love her. On the 6th day, my therapist helps me see that I don't have the right to make decisions for people about what they're willing to or should have to take. I tell her I still want to be with her and we get back together. Rumors start flying about things that went on between my best friend and my girlfriend during the breakup week, and a few people congratulate me on being a big person for not causing drama after their hookups. I confront the two of them, and they both firmly deny that anything of the sort happened. I believe them. We make the arrangements to live together and with our 5 other friends in a different building on campus for the following school year, and put all of our shared things in storage for the summer. The current school year ends and my girlfriend and best friend leave for the summer. The day my girlfriend leaves, she calls me from the airport and confesses that while we were broken up, she and my best friend got wasted and they hooked up. I tell her I'm not mad about the hookup itself because we were broken up, but I tell her I'm really mad about being lied to and walking around while people felt sorry for me and thought me a fool for trusting people who were apparently lying to me. I tell her all this and hang up on her, then call my best friend and rip him a new one for being dishonest with me. Then my girlfriend calls me back and tells me that the SX wasn't consensual. They were drunk and he forced himself on her. She tells me about how the next day day, and for the next 4 days, they'd go on drives where he would tell her I didn't deserve her, and she should just be with him, and she'd really know true happiness and love. After a week of him dodging my calls and attempts to contact him on the internet, I leave him a voicemail telling him that if he contacts her again, I'll end him. She and I change our housing situation so that we aren't anywhere near him. The next school year begins and I meet up with him to get my things out of the storage unit. He calls me at midnight and tells me he brought all my things in his car and needs to leave, so I need to grab it all pronto. I arrive and find that one of my guitars is broken. At this point, I know if I argue about this, I'll never get home, and odds are he won't pay for the damn thing anyway, so I just leave. For the following 5 months, my girlfriend has nightmares multiple times a week about him. Sometimes in the dark, she hits me in the dark at night because she thinks I'm him. During intimate moments, she'd sometimes have to stop because she couldn't stop thinking about him touching her. It's clear this is really hurting her and our relationship, so I ask her to please go to therapy and at least attempt to create some divide between him and me so that we can get over it together. She never does. Eventually, it becomes too much and we break up for good. Now, they're dating and live together. As far as I know, she never went to therapy or anything of the sort. I did not see that twist at the end coming, not gonna lie. Oh man, I would be, I don't know, I think that'd be a sore spot. I had a very close group of girlfriends who all went to school together and know everything about each other. I was at our monthly girls' night where we drink wine, smoke, gossip, and whatever. I left around midnight to take another girl back home. I realized after dropping her off that I still had half a bottle of wine left there, so I decided to go back. When I got to the house, I could hear that they were out smoking on the porch, so I went around the back. Before I could open the gate, I could hear that they were talking about me. Imagine the closest friends in your life bringing up every flaw in your character and basically talking about what a crappy human you are. I was frozen and ended up sitting in the grass listening to them talk crap about my husband and I for over an hour. So my best friend and I went to LA from Austin just for the hell of it. So the last day there, after we had packed up and everything, we went out to a concert, his choosing, not mine. While we were there, he bumped into his ex-girlfriend, which used him and cheated on him for about 8 months before anyone told him about it. Even I didn't know. I never really met her nor talked to her. I helped him get over her by talking to him and all this other good stuff like a friend should. So anyways, he offers to go buy her a drink and I decide to go to the restroom because I'm not a fan of drinking. There was a line and the wait was like 15 minutes easy. Once I get out, I look for him and the girl for about 30 minutes, calling his phone, asking where he was, but it kept on going straight to voicemail. So after an hour or so, I get worried because I think he left me. My phone eventually runs out of battery and I ask someone if I can use their phone because mine is dead and I can't find my friend. So the people were nice and they let me use it, tried to call him 3 times and still no answer. The people eventually just say, leave him, blah, blah, blah. I explained to them we're coming from Austin and he was the one who had the car and pretty much all of my stuff was in that car. All I had at the time was my license, about $50 and a debit card, but I had just paid my tuition so my money was pretty much gone in that card. I don't know why, but they offered to let me stay in their house and one of them laughed and said he might think we're murderers and they got me a room at a hotel. I thanked them and all that good stuff and I got one of their names so that I can repay them. I ended up calling my parents and asking them to put money into my card so I can get a car and drive back. So it turns out that my friend and the girl decided to hook up, have sex, etc. and leave me. I really don't know why, nor do I care anymore, but it just frickin' blew my mind that he would do that over a girl. Again, this is completely unforgivable. Why would you desert your friend in a place that they are not familiar with over some goddamn Wagyu? My best friend of almost 15 years had an affair with my wife. Not only were we great friends, but I helped him get his first IT job. He was having no luck due to a lack of references. I offered him my home when he was homeless for over a month. Horrible decision in hindsight. My wife was just as much at fault, but his betrayal was unexcusable. I ran into him a little over a year ago in a bookstore. I caught eye of him approaching me. Before he could say anything, I told him, walk the F away. He did. That's the last I ever saw of him. I hear he moved up north. Our circles of friends all annexed themselves from him. He really had nobody left or reason to stay in our city. It was a crappy time in my life, but life throws those curveballs once in a while. You have the choice to learn from your mistakes or let it tear you down. I'd like to think it made me a better person in the end. Can't really hold him totally accountable for this one, but my best friend from high school got into some pretty heavy substance abuse in our senior year and then on into his freshman year of college. One night, I got a call from him where in his ridiculous state, he thought it would be funny to describe to me how he was going to intentionally delete himself by ODing on an insane combination of substances. Can't remember what exactly, but it was basically a recipe for a heart attack. Couldn't convince him not to do it. After that, he got counseling, but he's never really been the same person since, and we've more or less stopped talking entirely. It's sad when people get to that state when they're that down about their life or whatever's going on, but I think it's also sad to put people that care about you through that kind of turmoil in telling them that you're going to do something like self-delete yourself rather than speak to your friends and family about it in a healthy way. Tell them you're in a dark place. Tell them that you're having those thoughts, and hopefully they can come to understand and give you the help that you need. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, and if you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Linked in the description below.